Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, February 1st, 2023. Already the second month of 2023. It's flipping flying by already. And do we have a packed show today? Because it is absolutely packed from top to bottom. We're going to be talking Kota Ibushi leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling, Seth Rollins insulting CM Punk, and our thoughts on the card for NXT Vengeance Day. But first of all, let me introduce my guests for today. Firstly, to my left, we have Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing well. Stoked to be here as usual. Stoked to talk Ibushi and all that and everything else. And I mean, it's how has there really been a month of 2023? Is that a thing? That's real? When you said that, threw me for a loop. February 1st? What in the world? I was about to say Happy New Year.
Exactly. Like the point, like 15 days ago, you had to stop saying Happy New Year already. But anyway, to my right on the stream, I'm still getting used to this new camera angle. We have Soul. How are you today, Soul?
I mean, good. I wasn't even advertised for this. This is card to subject to change kind of stuff here. But I'm here now. Busy. A lot of recording for the Soul Sessions right now. A lot of episodes are in the bank. And a particular guest you're very happy about, Allison.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when I told you, you were like, "Whoa, jaw hit the floor." I mean, the viewers will know soon enough.
Yep, absolutely. Super hyped for that one coming out very, very soon. But anyway, let's get in to today's show. And first of all, we have the huge news this morning that Kota Ibushi has left New Japan Pro Wrestling as of today. New Japan Pro Wrestling have released the following statement. With the conclusion of his contract period on January 31st, 2023, Kota Ibushi has departed New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ibushi had been recovering from injury since October 2021. We apologize to Ibushi's fans for the abrupt announcement and join them in wishing Ibushi the very best in all his future endeavors. New Japan are now jumping on the best in all future endeavors train, just like WWE. But anyway, Kota Ibushi hadn't appeared in New Japan Pro Wrestling since the middle of 2021 when he suffered a shoulder injury in the final of the G1 Climax. And of course, if you guys remember a few months ago, last May, Ibushi took to social media last May to talk about his frustrations with New Japan Pro Wrestling after he was threatened to be fired after appearing at an event for another promotion in Japan. This led to New Japan Pro Wrestling holding a press conference to dispute the claims and announcing penalties to Ibushi and others involved. Kota Ibushi then took to social media again following the press conference to ask New Japan why they left out the part where his mother attempted suicide, which Ibushi acclaimed was related to the situation. Following the penalties, New Japan Pro Wrestling claimed that Kota Ibushi would remain a key member of their roster. However, since then, he has not appeared for New Japan. Kota Ibushi's first confirmed booking following his New Japan Pro Wrestling release is for GCW during the collective WrestleMania weekend in a couple months' time, where he will appear at Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 9 to face Mike Bailey. What a match that's going to be. As well as appearing at Joey Janela Spring Break, where he'll face somebody soon to be announced. Now, of course, when we hear all of this, we instantly think, is Kota Ibushi going to be all elite? Well, the Young Bucks have been asked about all of this. And they were asked, what is your thoughts on Ibushi being a free agent now? And they said, we love him. Miss him. He kept us in the loop the night of the Tokyo Dome about Kenny. Kept sending us updates. Goes without question, we'd love to have him around or work with him. I think he has the ability to do whatever he wants. Ibushi was then asked about joining AEW in an interview today with Dark Flosion. I always mess up that word. And for somebody who's watched Japanese wrestling as long as I have, it's awful. I still cannot pronounce it properly.
Isn't it
but
Pro-Res, right?
So it's Puroresu. I don't know.
Pro-Resu?
There we are. I think you've nailed it there, Clark. I cannot say it for the life of me. But anyway, he said in a recent interview, a lot of my best friends are in AEW. My younger peers in Japan are also growing up there. Nonetheless, I don't think of going to AEW immediately. I want to have a school in Japan. Once that's worked out, I think I'll talk to AEW. So, I mean, this leads me to the question. Could Kota Ibushi be going to AEW? I asked one of our New Japan Pro Wrestling correspondents, Lions of the Republic co-host, Ben Wagner, about this, and he told me that Ibushi has said recently that he doesn't want to sign a long-term contract anywhere for the next 2 to 3 years. So in the short term, he thinks that is unlikely, but Ben Wagner does believe that he will end up in AEW eventually. But then it leads to the question about, if companies with partnerships with New Japan Pro Wrestling, such as AEW, ROH, Impact, Noah, Rev Pro, CMLL, because New Japan are working with everyone currently, don't want to book him in case, at the risk of harming their relationship with New Japan, then is the career of Kota Ibushi in jeopardy? I'll pass it to you first, Clark. What are your thoughts on this subject?
So there's a lot to address here, but I mean, to your most recent point about is his career in jeopardy, I did find it odd that the big return is GCW. I love the booking as Mike Bailey, no ropes, and Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. That's going to be outstanding, and I know it is. It's going to be great pro wrestling, but it does also feel like one of those scenarios where Ibushi's status is as high as it's going to be. And I don't know how you can build to be higher than where it would be right this second. And I think logically speaking, you got to strike while the iron's hot. And so I don't know if he's going to be all elite, but if he is, why not now? And why not soon? I'm not saying right this very minute, but in the next few months, in the near future, because if he just sits around, and I'm not saying just sits around, but if he kind of wallows on the independence, maybe doesn't deliver on a match or two, it's just going to affect his status long term. And my only fear is that you have so many stories to be told with the Kenny and Ibushi's history, and as the Bucks have discussed, there's so many things to do with that level of talent. It would be kind of a shame, I think, if it almost took too long to bring him in,
Yeah. No, I understand that completely. It's a difficult one where I think in AEW's head, if I'm being completely honest, I think that they're worried that it might harm the relationship with New Japan if they do bring him in. But at the same time, when you've got EVPs such as Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks who are all close with him, then it's like they're going to be pushing for it. But at the end of the day, it's Tony Khan who has the final say. But what do you think about it all, Sol?
Well, this is the interesting bag of tricks, as they say. Do you bring in a talented ass individual like Kota Ibushi, or do you, and you could possibly then hurt a relationship with one of the biggest companies within Japan? It's a very interesting subject, and we obviously don't know the full 100% details of the whole interaction between New Japan management and Ibushi during that whole time. Have things died down to a bit, hopefully. If are things still icy, we don't know. This is very early doors at the moment, and I can see a lot of the big companies taking a good time to hold back and be like, right, let's see how this goes. Is there any nuclear comments being made? Is there anything going to be said by either party? Probably why we're seeing something like GCW hit while the iron's hot, especially during Mania weekend. Prime opportunity to do it, because I would have honestly expected Impact or even WWE to try and get him to come in and do something. But going to AEW, I've been thinking, if Kota comes into AEW, what opportunities are there for him? And I think it could lead to something very interesting here. As we know, the famous Golden Lovers storyline, Kenny and Ibushi have had, and I would do it like this. Episode of Dynamite, the Young Bucks and Kenny are there. They're either the champions of the Trios title or not. They're doing their little celebration and talking, and Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly come down the ramp, and they have their little talk and all that, and they're like, yeah, that's okay. And then there's a match set up, and it's the Young Bucks versus Future Shock, which is Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. They're having their match. Kenny's at ringside, and let's say the Bucks win, and then there's a post-match brawl, and Ibushi comes down the ring, and it's Kenny, like the Bucks are laid out, and Kenny's standing there. Ibushi comes into, it's looking like he's gonna, it's me and Kenny, Golden Lovers back against Future Shock, and Ibushi just whacks Omega, turns heel on Omega, and we get a trio match between the Elite of Kenny and the Bucks versus Kota Ibushi and Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, and you would have a heel Ibushi basically reignite these emotions of like, we were so close and tight knit, and then you left. You left me on my own and had to deal with trying to be the single star I could be, but you went and made this whole new company with your so-called friends. We were the Golden Lovers, but now I feel like you're the Golden Betrayer. You've left me behind, and I feel like that would be a hell of a feud, and as well as an addition to the Golden Lover storyline.
Wow, that would be interesting. That really would, because obviously we've talked about the fact that Tony Khan released Bobby Fish before they did anything between the Elite and the Undisputed Elite, and that's still a decision I think will be regrettable. But yeah, I mean, that would certainly solve that issue. I mean, I guess it's, do Ibushi and Adam Cole have, I don't even know this myself, if they have much history, if any, really. But even still, like, the fact that the Elite and the Undisputed Elite have the history, and then the Elite have the history with Kota Ibushi, like you explained, I think that could work. In fact, I'd love to see that. It's just whether or not Kota Ibushi could get over as a heel.
I feel like he could. He'll know that. Like, I've seen fans react to the Golden Lovers and all that of pure tears and emotion. There's a really good YouTuber, Super Eye Patch Wolf, who did a documentary on the Golden Lovers, and you see people in that getting teary-eyed and like seeing, it's like seeing your friends or family reunite after years apart. People love this stuff, and I feel Kota could basically be like Shao Kahn, take Kenny's heart, turn it to ice, and then just be like, betrayal. That would be cold-hearted love.
Or it would be brutal. But even then, like, part of me thinks that, the thing is though, it's AEW as well. It's not like it's a WWE situation. In AEW, you can have storylines where you know the lines are a bit blurred, so people can root for the heel. It would still work, I think. I think the way you described it, I think I would bet on the fans rooting for Ibushi, just because more than rooting for Ibushi, just because he doesn't have a face you want to punch Ibushi. He has.
And Ben, by the way, I also wonder if, and so it's funny because I really like the scenario you laid out, but it kind of inspired me on that. I wonder if actually Konosuke Takeshita isn't the route, given what he said in that original statement about wanting to open a school and mentor other wrestlers, to take a young Japanese babyface who the AEW crowd has kind of gotten behind, bell to bell. Maybe you go that route. He has a rivalry with maybe the Bucks, and then that's where the lines are blurred between him and Kenny and their history. I wonder if maybe that you, similar to what you said, but you have Takeshita, and then maybe not Cole and O'Reilly, but maybe you add I'm trying to think, maybe just another young and up and comer that exactly, there you go.
Ben Wagner from Lions of the Republic is saying in the comments here that Kota Ibushi does have a massive history with Takeshita, and I botched the name again. I did it last week. I botched it this week.
Someone I want to mention, like, a lot of people have been asking for Hikaru Shida to turn heel, and I don't know if it was a cosplay or something like that, but Shida wore like a suit to a press conference stuff, and everyone's like been joking on Reddit, like Yakuza boss Shida. What if we could get something like that, like kind of like Takeshita, Ibushi, and Shida, and maybe if some other Japanese prospects, maybe Amy Sakura as well, building like this Yakuza guild kind of faction.
That I don't think is a bad idea. The only thing I would say that I think throws me for a loop there is they kind of did go, Tony's the heel after with Storm and Shida and that stuff just a few weeks ago. Like it almost seems too soon to turn them both.
Does that be 2024? Right?
Yeah, there you go. So I think down the road that might be the play, but right away it does seem a little too soon, I think, to turn Shida, given that it was Storm that made the big turn right after we just had that, like, which one is it type segment, which one is going to turn. But I do totally hear where you're coming from on that one. Like, I agree with a lot of that.
And Ben Wagner from the Lions of the Republic has given us some more context here in the comments, and he is saying that Kenny was pinned by Dichida, and I'm just going to keep botching it, aren't I? In the Dichida Endo versus Golden Lovers tag match that put Take and Tetsuya over as the aces of DDT when the Golden Lovers left for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So he's already he's kind of already overcome Ibushi. Like he really is. Like there's history there, and I'd love to see it be reunited in AEW. And like Ben actually pointed out in the comments earlier on as well in the previous comment, he said that of course AEW also have that relationship with DDT, so they could even use some of that footage in the feud if they could strike a deal between them for it. So it would certainly be exciting, and you've got me excited now, Saul, with your fantasy booking. But talking about somebody who's not excited about some fantasy booking going on at the minute, Seth Rollins this weekend at a press event around the Royal Rumble was asked about CM Punk possibly returning to WWE, and Rollins said this: "Oh, Phil, stay away, you cancer. Get away from me forever. I don't like Phil. Did we just figure that out? He's a jerk. Oh, we just figured that out over there. We don't want him over there. Go do something else. Bye-bye." So, guessing Seth Rollins is not a fan of CM Punk. But Booker T now last night was asked on his podcast about this, and he confirmed that it was not a work and doubled down on Seth's opinion. Booker T said he was shooting 100%. "I'm just glad I didn't have to say it. I'm just glad people can't look at me now and be like, I'm a hater. I kept my mouth shut. My mama always told me that if you don't have something nice to say, then don't say it at all. You hear other guys that have been around the business that feel and speak the same way about Phil Brooks," CM Punk, "and it's because of being around him. People stop thinking that everything is a work. If I say something negative to the point about somebody being a cancer in the locker room, I'm not playing, okay? That's not stuff you play around with. That's not an angle. That's just not. I know a lot of people out there think it is, but that's not in the business. But I'm not in the business that wants to think that something's real. If it's real, then it's real talk." So, yeah, that's what Booker T said on the matter, and it's he does not seem to be a fan of CM Punk either. It seems like CM Punk's getting more enemies by the day. But I want to go back. I want to actually pass it to you, Clark, because you said it at the end of your show. You've been adamant this entire time that CM Punk is going to return to AEW this year. Do you still think that's possible?
First off, I definitely think it's possible. Not only possible, I still think it's probable. In fact, I think that's the solution. I'm a little disappointed in Booker T. I'm a lifelong Booker T fan. So did he basically just say, now that Seth said it, it's okay that I say it, but I wouldn't have said it because of what my mom taught me? Was that quote?
Yeah, basically.
And so if your mom taught you to not say something nice, or right, if you don't have something nice to say, you don't say it, then you don't say that quote either. I would imagine. And that's no knock on Booker T. I'm a huge lifelong fan, and I also understand it's part of his job to say things as it is ours. But at the same time, it did feel a bit wishy-washy. I'm more concerned with the Seth thing. Of course, Seth doesn't like CM Punk. If you look at from a character perspective, they've often been compared, categorized together. They've been, Seth Rollins was tough to work with at first, and then they're, Triple H, he gained Tripp's trust and all of that. I don't know necessarily outside of it's kind of fun to hear the quote, what comes of it, and I don't think it affects CM Punk's return to AEW anyway. In fact, I still think we see CM Punk this year in AEW. I absolutely believe that. And not because there's no truth to any of the drama or any of that other stuff, but it's the most logical conclusion for almost all parties. It just is. And it's all adults involved, hopefully. And so
the only thing I will say to that, though, is if people, if a lot of people are getting upset and a lot of people backstage in AEW don't want him back, then perhaps it wouldn't be beneficial from AEW's point of view, even though, yes, they'd make money from it. But if they're upsetting their current roster, maybe that might lead to people leaving long term. And would that still be beneficial for them? What do you think, Clark?
I don't know that there'd be a mass exodus in relation to CM Punk, because I don't think that's necessarily possible with people that are working under contract. That's just not how things work. Upset in the locker room, possibility for sure, but we've seen tons of successful in sports entertainment franchises that have had, conflict on set, conflict backstage. I mean, we all did, but a lot of us saw The Last Dance on ESPN about the Chicago Bulls. It's not exactly like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen are sending each other Christmas cards, but they had a heck of a lot of success being able to, put their differences aside and work together. And I just don't see it as something that is so detrimental that people can't work with CM Punk. I do think it's convenient to pile on, which is why I think I was a little bit disappointed with Booker T in a scenario like this. It's convenient to pile on to a guy that's already being called to call a guy cancer. That's mean. That's right. That does fall under the, if you don't have anything nice to say, umbrella in my eyes. And so like, yeah, cancer's really serious, right? For anybody that doesn't know that, that's a, that one's not usually funny. And so, yeah, for me, I don't think that what Seth Rollins or Booker T said has any standing as far as his ability to return to AEW in this scenario. I don't think that they're connected,
Fair point. What about you, Soul? Because of course you were somebody who was a big fan of CM Punk's, but not anymore after everything that went down. But what about you? Do you think that there's any chance that he will return this year to AEW?
No, he's done. I mean, first of all, let's go back to the actual Seth Rollins interview. That interviewer, holy shit. That dude's face was like, oh my God, he's actually asking the question. What question? He's keep going. He won't stop. What's happening? Like, the man was purely like, oh God, what have I started? I feel like with this, like, maybe something was said backstage or something like that, like, he's not coming back, don't worry. Or it's the fact that some wrestlers were looking at the fact that Punk went to what's technically the second biggest American promotion right now and blew it and had such a public blow up that they feel like, yeah, we can talk crap about him because we know he's not going to come here. If you mess up in the second place, you ain't going to get first place. Look, the thing with me is, I've said it multiple times, I don't really want to give this Punk situation any more of my physical strain and emotional strain. I was so happy to see him at Revolution in the dog collar match. Still happy to see him when he was doing his stuff. Disappointed as shit when it all went out at Brawl Out. It's just so disheartening to talk about, man. That a man who had it all blew it up in the span of a 10-minute media call. So with that, I mean, I feel like people in WWE, the talent there, know he's not going to come there, so they can speak freely on any way they want. They know the guy who's doing all the booking is someone who notoriously hates Punk, not has a good relationship with him, so they can talk freely with feeling that he's not going to come over there. And
Tony Khan hates Punk?
Well, I wouldn't say Tony. Tony Khan probably doesn't hate Punk. I mean, people within WWE. I meant Triple H for the WWE side, like their sort of team. But for Tony, obviously, Tony, this is a very hard situation. You have a man who pulls merch and makes ticket sales like crazy. But you can't bring a guy back if he's going to start fights and make everything more low mood. I mean, we heard reports from Meltzer and everything that the locker room morale in AEW soared with Brad Danielson and Jericho and Moxley having team morale meetings and everything. And the product still has been fine. It's not like the whole product's collapsed without him. You know, we're getting Darby Allin TNT title run version 2, where he's having a banger against Samoa Joe tonight. MJF is doing his world title run. Acclaim got the tag team belts. It's not like the company's falling apart without him. Will it rise as quickly without him? Probably not, but it's still going to stay afloat. It's not going to collapse just because one man's gone. So, yeah, this whole CM Punk situation, was a fan. I can, look, Punk's come back. I'll take it or leave it. I don't necessarily care if it happens. I'm just, if it happens, right, it happens.
Very, very, very good points you've made there. And the one thing I do want to ask is, if in the event he is released from AEW, do you think any promotion which could afford him, because of course, you know, and a smaller promotion would love to have him regardless, but do you think any big promotion that could be able to afford him, which pretty much means WWE, maybe Impact, even though it would be a lesser contract, but maybe Impact to finish his career? But do you think either WWE or Impact or even New Japan, do you think any of them would risk it in any way, shape, or form to have him, you know, return to their company? What do you think, Clark?
No, I don't think there's any reason he gets released, to be honest, with how much they paid. So I don't think, and I think it's short-sighted to view it as, I mean, there's been 5 headlines, I would say, since Brawl Out that have been bigger inside of the wrestling industry, including like the Vince stuff that we've talked about, things like that. This is something I've forgotten about, right? Like, so they had to dust up in the locker room. Like, come on, boys, rub some dirt on it. What are we talking about here, guys? Like, I guess Ace Steel, who bit a guy, he got fired, deservedly so. Can't be biting people, throwing chairs and stuff like that. But the rest that are involved, nobody's been fired. Everybody's working again. CM Punk's rehabbing an injury. I don't see him necessarily being in a position where it makes even sense for a release at this point. It doesn't. And there's some apologies. Yes. This is grown men. This is grown adults. And at that point, let me put it this way. CM Punk and Impact, no. Absolutely no. Never. Are you kidding? That's a joke. CM Punk and GCW? No, never. Unless it's like a one-off and he's still getting paid big bucks somewhere else. But it's either back in AEW or kind of nothing. Especially now with Triple H in charge and Vince back on the board. I mean, you got 2 non-fans like Soul presented on that side. But outside of that, how many choices does he really have? What's it, MMA commentary on the minor leagues, or indie commentary, or it's wrestle for GCW, or it's say you're sorry and shake hands and move along with AEW? I think that's the only choices.
I think in fairness, right, I think Punk is more than prepared at this point to say sorry based on what he said on social media. But I think it's not the Brawl Out situation. Yes, the Brawl Out situation was with the explosion that happened, but I don't think that's why he's not returned yet, right? Well, if you ignore the injury, I don't think that's why that he's rumored that he's not going to return.
Besides the tricep.
I think the reason is because this was something which was going on for like 6 months. The tensions were building more and more. And the reality is pretty much the whole locker room sided with the Elite. So if there's a divide in the locker room and they're all siding one way, then if it's the only way you can get rid of the drama, then in fairness, you might have to be done. But yeah, what were you going to say, Saul?
I think Punk knows that it's AEW or nothing. He's got that itch. He knows Impact can't afford him. W ain't going to touch him. New Japan probably don't want maybe someone who's not got history of Japan coming over. NWA I just laugh at. So yeah, I mean, if it's like he says, he's got the itch back and he loves to do it. He knows there's only one place he can work, and it's basically a teetering edge of if he can continue or not.
Yeah,
we won't hear anything. We will not hear anything until either his contract's up or he's healthy to return to TV, and we start hearing some rumblings going
on. Cold personality.
No, it won't be a surprise.
Speaking of that, I've not listened to Cult of Personality since the whole situation as well.
Such a good song, though.
I can't listen to it. I can't listen to it. I listen to it and I'm like, oh, First Dance. championship win. And then it's just, oh God, no. I can't listen to it. It's a banger song. I just can't listen to it. It's off my like list. It's gone. It's buried. It's right in the bottom of the search history. I can't listen to it.
I still play it myself. I still play it.
Yeah, I still have listened, and I listened to I've forgotten. Is it Misery?
Misery Cantata.
Misery and Cathare, or whatever.
Yeah, the ROH. I love that. I rewatch that entrance all the time as well.
It's a cool entrance.
Let's get on now to our final topic of the show today, and that is on last night's episode of NXT. The card was finalized for this Saturday's premium live event, which is NXT Vengeance Day. It's going to be the first show in front of an arena, apart from, I think, Stand and Deliver was in front of an arena, but so the second arena show since 2020 for NXT. And again, it's not a takeover. Takeovers are seemingly dead. But it's a bit of a stacked card for NXT Vengeance Day this weekend. I'm going to quickly run through it, and then I'll get your thoughts for it, guys. And the first match that I'll go through here is a 2 out of 3 falls match between Carmelo Hayes, who I'm a big fan of, against Apollo Crews. There will then be a fatal 4-way for the NXT Tag Team titles between Chase University, Gallus, Pretty Deadly, and The New Day. And then we get on to the North American Championship match, which is Wesley defending against Dijak, who I'm not going to lie to you guys, I didn't actually realize that they renamed him Dijak again. I thought, that's the first time in WWE that he's been allowed to use Dijak. He's just going through more. He's gone through more names in WWE than anybody in years. But anyway, no longer Dijakovic now, or whatever he was known as, T-Bar in Retribution. He's now Dijak again, which is much better, and that certainly will be a clash of stars, which could well be a fun match. And then this is where things get a little bit interesting. There's a triple threat match for the NXT Women's title between Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, and Roxanne Perez. And of course, Toxic Attraction in the same match. Is this going to lead to a turn? They've been teasing at it a lot on TV. And then we get to the main event, which is going to be a steel cage match, and one which they've been hyping up for quite some time now. The NXT champion, Braun Breaker, will be defending his championship against Grayson Waller inside of that steel cage. And yeah, like I said, this is going to be the second match outside of the Capitol Wrestling Center since 2020. But yeah, how excited are you for this, Clark? What are your thoughts on the card? Are you just don't really have any feelings towards it? What do you think?
I'm excited about some of it. I love the Vengeance tagline, so I can't even knock them for bringing it back. That was one of my favorite pay-per-views as a kid. I was always a huge Vengeance fan. In fact, I think arguably I would call it the third best Hell in a Cell of all time occurred on a Vengeance card, and it was Batista Triple H following their WrestleMania encounter. It's amazing. Spine buster on the steel steps. Awesome spots throughout. Definitely worth a rewatch. I believe that's Vengeance. It's either 04 or 05. 05. I believe it's 05. But yeah, so huge fan of them bringing back Vengeance. I think there's a lot on this card that's exciting. It's nice to actually see the New Day work. And it's really cool to see him work on NXT. I'm glad that they're in the tag team title picture, and win or lose, it's just good wrestling, and it's good to see. This is just a different NXT than we had 2 years ago, right? It is. And so excitement wise, I wouldn't say like I'm over the moon about it. Am I going to watch? Of course. But you know, I find the Breaker Waller cage match main event I find fascinating, because can Waller even really hit his finisher with a steel cage? And so that is going to be interesting to see what comes of that. I do think also the triple threat for the women's title is intriguing. I think NXT is improving, but it is still, it's just more developmental than what we had. I would say, you know, pre-pandemic and through the beginning of the pandemic with the Wednesday Night Wars and whatnot. And so the expectations do need to be tempered, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be a high quality and entertaining card.
Yeah, you made some good points there. And I just want to quickly clarify something, a mistake that I made. I forgot to mention the NXT Women's Tag Team match, which is going to be Fallon Henley and Kiana James against Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, who, of course, the current champions. And that should be an interesting match. They've been teasing stuff for a while between them all. But yeah, what about you, Saul? What are your honest thoughts on this card? Are you excited for the show, or do you not think you're actually going to tune in for it?
Like, I'm gonna be honest, 100% here. I don't watch NXT. Only things I really watch are like kind of clips on Reddit and Instagram. So I won't be watching the show because I'm also working as well, so I technically can't. But from what I've heard and what I've seen, the only kind of thing that interests me is I want to see more of Dijak. I'd love to see him be NXT champion. The tag match, I kind of want Gallus to win or Chase University, because from what I've seen of Chase University, very entertaining. Like, just their segments alone. Like, I remember it was like the segment was like, I don't know, it was Best Teacher Award or giving awards to somebody. And it was just hilarious. It was so wholesome, but it was funny as shit. So I was like, yeah, I kind of dig this. I like this kind of. I don't want to make the comparison because it's a different league, but it kind of gave me like early Dark Order vibes of just a band of misfits running around and working alongside the big stars. Not saying that a Dark Order level, no, but they're still entertaining. The women championship match, it's probably Roxanne's going to hold it, and then Toxic Attraction are going to go into a feud with one another and break up because Mandy's not there, so there's no real point. You might as well gain some single stars out of it. Women's tag team match, WWE's whole women tag team division in NXT and the main roster is poor, so they should just unify those belts at either Stand and Deliver or a Mania thing just to have it done and dusted. The main match, with Braun Breaker and Grayson Waller, maybe if you want Braun to come up to the main roster now, this would be a good way to have him lose the championship and make the main roster push to someone like Grayson Waller. So yeah, I got no complaints. I mean, it's for NXT fans, I bet this is going to be amazing. For me, someone who doesn't watch the product, I mean, it sounds all right, but I don't have that connection to the product. But hopefully Gallus or Chase University for tag champs.
I'm going to be honest, I watched the product and I'm not excited for this.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm being completely honest about this. I'm just not.
So
I'm
trying
not
to be nice.
I'm just not. I mean, I love Carmelo Hayes, so yeah, him and Apollo Crews, I'm sure we'll have a fun match. But it's just, it's not, okay. There are a couple of things I need to say here. Firstly, I was critical over the last couple of years about, over the last couple of years of the NXT brand, about the fact they were bringing in wrestlers who were too old, right? So now they're bringing in younger guys who aren't as, experienced. Of course, they're not going to be as good in the ring. Fair enough, right? But if I'm being honest, I'm just not excited for it. And that's not something, it's contradictory because you can't have an amazing NXT brand and have them be all young. But I think long term for WWE is better for the NXT brand to have younger stars. But short term, in terms of the quality of wrestling for events, I'm a lot less interested in events now, and that's just going to have to be the way it is for the long term of WWE to have young stars coming into the main roster before the age of 30. And I think that is something which, again, I think is a policy which I agree with, quite frankly, with WWE doing. But yeah, this card, especially the Fatal 4, I know obviously you just praised Chase University, and they're very entertaining, but they don't really do anything.
The Fratliner is the one that got me. As a guy that was in a fraternity, the Fratliner, I didn't actually know that last night, and I was laughing my face off when I saw that one. I'm like, okay, that's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I think the New Day could well. We're going to get into our predictions on Saturday, but I think the New Day could well end up losing their titles because, of course, it's a 4-way match. But yeah, I'm really hoping. Of course, this is the first one back. Well, I keep saying first one back. They did do one, as I previously stated, WrestleMania weekend last year. But this is the second one back, and the first one where they bring them back consecutively. Going forward, they're going to bring them back now for the premium live events to be in front of in an arena. So I'm really hoping they deliver, and it can be takeover standard. But I'm going to be honest, going into it, there's no hype. The storytelling's not even. That's the other thing. It's not even just the wrestling that's making me less excited. The storytelling's not as good.
I think what I'll say to that as well, it kind of shows as well that, we're all going to Mania weekend and we're doing as much as we can there and having fun. But when it was suggested, guys want to do NXT, pretty much all of us were just like, nah. Which it's a shame because
that's telling, very telling.
Yeah, I can see how much, like, obviously I wasn't a fan. Like, I got into Rousey Wrestling when the whole Wednesday Night War was going on, and I was like, destroy NXT 100%, smother them in the dirt. But I could see how much people really cared for this brand, seeing all the documentaries and everything about, takeovers and everything, even though I've not watched one. But yeah, people are going to crucify me for that. But I can see how much people really cared for this. I can't really imagine how seeing the product now is like a twist in the back.
Do you know what I reckon is going to happen, right? I reckon in 5 years' time, Soul is going to watch a takeover for the first time. And you're going to become the biggest black and NXT black and gold mark out there. And it's like, it finished 7 years ago. And you're just going to be there walking with all the old T-shirts.
Black and gold NXT was outstanding, to your point, Allison, by the way. Yeah, I got to give you that. So, like, I'm with you on the AEW train there, but the black and gold NXT was as good as it gets. That was not as good as it gets, but it was high quality wrestling for weeks on end.
Well, sorry there, big man. There's only one black and gold, and that's AEW. So have you 100%.
I'm with you there.
I'll say this. I mean, we've got a couple minutes left. I'll say this, right? I was a huge NXT fan going into the Wednesday Night Wars. And I wasn't really either side. I just wanted both to do well. But their AEW's product on a weekly basis when in the Wednesday Night Wars was so much better. Like, it just was. NXT, I think, actually, I don't even think it was the pandemic which killed the pandemic did kill NXT. But I don't think it was the pandemic which the downfall of NXT started. And I think it started in the Wednesday Night Wars. Because that's when even the two takeovers they had after the Wednesday Night Wars, or during it, before the pandemic, they were the two weaker takeovers in recent years. And the booking and stuff, I wasn't a fan of it. But when they just did the tapings, when they did what they were good at, and then the live takeovers, it was just perfect. Full Sail, all of it. I mean, also, it doesn't help that the Performance Center, Capital Wrestling Center crowd is just so toxic. It's the most toxic crowd in wrestling.
It really is.
What I'll say to you guys as well, do you, as NXT fans, want to see it go back to the network?
No. I would say.
Yeah.
I would say no.
I'd like it pre-taped 1 hour per week.
I would say keep it on TV, but go back to an hour would be my. I agree with most of what you said, but I would say keep it. I mean, you're on USA. It's nice to have WWE on USA twice a week. I think that's cool.
True.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? The TV deals are coming up. SmackDown might be back next year anyway.
Seriously.
But yeah, I mean, I do agree there as well that you could even you could just do the exact same thing it was before, but just have it 1 hour pre-taped on USA each week. And even if you don't put it in a primetime slot, even if you put it in maybe like a late afternoon slot, yes, it wouldn't do as well viewership wise, but it's still like better to have it there than probably on Peacock. But then again, I mean, is the USA Network now thinking that their aim is more so on Peacock as things are going more digital? But then we're getting into the entire networks brand all over again, and we're gonna be getting into networks a lot over the next few months because, of course, WWE is currently, in case you've forgotten, in the process of being sold. But yeah, this pretty much wraps up today's show. Soul, do you have any announcement for the Soul Sessions today?
Oh, well, as you mentioned there, boss man, obviously episode 34 with Brooke Havoc is going to be launching tomorrow on the Wrestling Public YouTube channel. Talk about our training at the Nightmare Academy. A lot of mentions of Cody Rhodes, the roller coaster. Mentions how, Cody walked her out to her match against Layla Hirsch on Dark, and that was not planned. That was literally, she was about to go for a match. Cody walked up and said, "Let me walk you out." It just shows how cool Cody is, showing that support for his students. As well, also mentions how Brooke suffered a double knee injury and how she was able to relate to Cody through his torn pec injury at Hell in a Cell.
Wow. I can't wait to watch that interview. And yes, it will be up on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel tomorrow, which you guys are already watching this on, so you're already here. But yes, it'll be up.
And then many more are on the way. And one, as I mentioned before, there's one guest, Allison, was squealing like a schoolgirl when he heard I got.
Yep, absolutely. It's gonna be got some great Soul Sessions episodes coming up soon, guys. And we've got some great. We're gonna be back here tomorrow, same time for the daily broadcast. We've got Take It to the Tables.
No,
coming
not the
out
same
soon.
time for the daily broadcast. Tomorrow's 3
Right.
o'clock.
Yep.
3 o'clock Eastern. Wait, no, that's a lie. 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 Eastern, which is
11 UK time.
I think it's midnight. I think it's
No,
midnight.
11. I've been doing guess. I've been doing guess conversion.
Noon Hawaiian though. Noon Hawaiian. I know it's noon Hawaiian.
Yeah, 11 p.m. UK time, 6 Eastern, and 3 Pacific, and noon Hawaiian. So there we are, guys. We'll be back here tomorrow, and we will. Well, I won't be. I'm taking my day off tomorrow. So is Sol, but Clark will be here with Anthony Ricciardi, and it should be a great, great episode. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for watching.